Hello everyone. Now I'm going to do the back to my brother's house. Thank YouTube and thanks to everybody who um, listen and get something from the YouTube. And I just want to get right into it. And then this will be where I finally get out from being surrounded by the Jehovah Witnesses. So this is how I leave the cult or leave the Jehovah Witness cult, and I'm not surrounded by, you know, the people who are in the who are in the organization, and who have an effect on me because of their um, because of their involvement in the Jehovah Witness organization. Now, get back to my. I stated that my brother picked me up, and we went to. Um, I went to work for him, okay, and I told him the only thing that I want is, all the money that I make, it goes toward the rent, and he doesn't have to pay me, okay. So we start working together. He does construction. I'm a drywall hanger, but I can pretty much help him with anything that, because he builds decks, he does things like that. Pretty much renovation around the house and small business, things like that. So we start working together. And the first thing I noticed when we first started working together, he would he started talking so much. I guess he needed somebody to talk to, but venting and stuff. And I remember telling him, well, my brother, we're gonna have to, concentrate on work. And I can't believe I was saying I was like the foreman. And we got a lot of work done, and we would talk, during the lunch breaks, we would get like an hour or so for lunch. And so he started doing very well. I mean, he got his jobs together and we went from job to job. But I remember one job that he had, um, I was working with him and it was inside a house. It wasn't like constructing, like construction work. It was like fixing a toilet or something. And I remember telling him, I go, Daryl, I asked my brother, like, how much are we getting paid for this job? Yeah, I said, you're not paying me, but I want to know how much you're getting paid for this job. And he told me, well, I owe these people, so we're not getting paid anything. And I said, listen, if don't take me on another job where you're not getting paid. The only jobs I want to work on is jobs that you're getting paid on. Okay, um, that and jobs where you have to go back and fix something that we had already done. I didn't mind doing that. So we started working together, and it it was a it was a good business. But I remember this one part is I started talking to him, and he had this kind of mindset. I mean, like, he loved Michael Jackson. That was the number one tape that I would always listen to. He really likes Michael Jackson, like my mother liked Johnny Mathis. But anyway, we were talking one time, and he was telling me that something about my nose. He would like watch me do things, too much, like obsessed. And it was getting a little bit too much. And I was like if I drink soda pop, he would say, you don't use your lips like when you eat or when you drink soda pop or stuff like that. Just little trivial things. But to get his mind off of things like that, one time he would persist in saying that I had plastic surgery. I don't know why. But one time I told him, I go, yes, I did. I did have plastic surgery. It cost me $5,000. So I got into like this world that he was in, and it kind of gave him some kind of entertainment, which I didn't understand. But I built upon that, and this is my brother who wants to be a Jehovah's Witness. And remember, he doesn't have like what do you call it? Like when you figure out things, like it just everything is taken at face value, you know, reasoning like that. Okay, now it's impossible that I would get plastic surgery because first of all, I'm working with him and I don't have any money, so why would I get plastic surgery? I wouldn't even have the money. But anyway, he liked that, and I told him, okay, yeah, I had plastic surgery. It cost me $5,000, and he accepted it, and it was almost like he felt. I'm almost sure it was like an entertainment for his mind. So anyway, I started doing that more. So when we would talk, because it was we didn't really have things to talk about, which I was surprised because his mind was somewhere that I didn't understand. So I made up stories. And I'm almost sure he told the family my stories, which all of them are not true. I mean, it's outrageous, okay? Like the plastic surgery that cost $5,000. There's nowhere in the world I had the money. So I had to extend it, and I told him, which is definitely not true, just the stories that would help him move along and work and everything. I told him I was a prostitute, a male prostitute, and I made like maybe like $3,000 with men, $2,000 with ladies, and I had a lot of clients. I had clients throughout the United States, and he believed it, you know, and it was what he needed. So, you know, I did all those stories, and it really believed him, because I remember, I mean, he believed that I had some kind of big system going on, because I remember him giving me, he designed things, and he designed this mailbox, and he did plans. It was really good, and I told him I'd take it to my people, and I took the plans to my people, but I'll explain that later on. But anyway, that survived him, and with those stories, he was able to work better. I mean, and it was just stories, and not just that, but he also told me some things about himself, which helped me to understand him a little bit better. So I don't know why he believed in the stories, but I'm almost positive that he told my brothers and them that, because some of the things that they don't tell me like straightforward, but they like, oh wow, I could just feel that the stories had gotten around. But anyway, there's no way in the world those stories could be true. I did it for his mind entertainment. There was like, he needed something to scroll or something in his mind. And so that was that. So there was another point in time where I had to I had to call my ex-wife and tell her about being this fellowship. And back then you didn't have phones to yourself. You just have different phones, which, he had a phone in the living room, which had a long cord. But I told him I had to, and long distance back then was very expensive. And you really had to ask the person who had the phone in order to use long distance. You just can't make telephone calls like nowadays. So anyway, I asked him I had to use the phone because I had to tell my ex-wife about what happened, I told him. And he definitely said yes, because he knew that, he was going to get to listen in, because it was like, well, it's not going to be private. So anyway, and it was the first time that was settled to where I could call her and tell her about my being disfellowship. So I call him, I call her. She's in her country. And he's there. He's so happy that it's not a private call. And of course, I'm talking to her on the phone, and I explained to her that, I had a girlfriend. That was one thing. And then I explained to her that one of the condoms that we had, I used it on a man. I had to explain to her that. I explained to her also that I was disfellowshipped and about the meeting and stuff like that. So I explained to her all those things, because I always like to, if you're in a close relationship, you have to I believe you really have to be honest with that person, no matter what. You have to be honest in a relationship. So that's just the way I feel when you're in a relationship. Even if it hinders the relationship, you have to be, because that's what I would like, as far as being in a relationship. Anyway, another thing too is that when you did long distance back then, you can't like rumble on the phone. If it's long distance and this was like out of the country, you have to pretty much say what you want to say and not linger on, because it could get like, oh, it's so expensive, like $2 a minute or something like that. It seemed like it would change your bill drastically. I mean, I've seen telephone bills that was like $500. I mean, things like that. But that was back then. So anyway, when I got off the phone with her, he was really, I mean, he was like, well, I knew that you had, relationships with men. I knew that you did things with men. And so anyway, it solidified what was in his mind. So that was good. I mean, that was good. And that also helped him in some kind of way. I mean, he felt more comfortable with something, with some information about, even drastic information about me, or like I said, the stories that I told about that weren't true. It was like entertainment to him, because he's definitely wasn't an extrovert. He pretty much stayed to himself all the time. Okay, so anyway, that's another thing that happened in his house. And these are random things, and then I'm going to stick to a pretty much the way things happened, the chronological order. But those are random things that happened. There was another thing that was, I think I should mention it now. Okay, yeah, there was another thing that happened, and when I was in the room, like sleeping in the bed in his son's room, and all the lights were out, and I felt this demon in the room. I know it was because it was like on the left hand side. And as soon as I noticed it, I jumped up out of bed and I said, I'm with Jehovah. And I think God did that for me, because he let me see that thing, because it has never happened to me. Especially when I left the Jehovah's Witnesses, I haven't. If you want, when you're in the world, if you want that, then it'll happen. But usually if you're with God, those things don't happen. But like I said, in the Jehovah's Witness organization, it's pretty much a demonized organization. But anyway, so that happened, and I jumped out of bed and I said, I'm with Jehovah. And I went to my brother's room, and I said, there was a demon in the room, but it didn't even move him. But anyway, that never happened again. But another thing I want to say, as far as that is concerned, it was definitely true. There's another thing what I wanted to say is, I think God let that happen let that thing happen to me, because it showed me the difference between the way God does things and the way the organization does things. And because like, if you're afraid of something and you're with God, you pray to him, like you say, God, please help me, or something like that, and he's always there. But you don't say you're with Jehovah, you're with Jehovah. And the way I said it, I could feel in myself that it was directed toward something that I learned inside the organization. So that everything God showed me was things to help me see not to come back, because there's a lot of people, when they leave the Jehovah's Witness, they still have this feeling to go back, or they still have feelings for it. But when God got me out of the organization, he made sure that I wasn't coming back or had any feelings coming back. So that's another thing that happened. So now, chronologically speaking, there was a time when he started doing well, and I was in the bed. It was in the morning, and he came we were working regularly, And he came into the room and he said, come into the room, say something, and shut the door. That's how he was. He said, they took my truck, they took my truck. And then he closed the door. And I was thinking about, oh, they took his truck, what can I do? And then I figured out that they took his truck. I had a car that I didn't pick up. I took it to get fixed, but I never picked it up because I didn't have, I think I didn't have, not that I didn't have the money, I think I didn't have the money to keep up or something like that, but I left it there. It wasn't in there that long. Maybe I was thinking about getting it again. But I knew that I had dropped the car off to get fixed, and I wasn't using it. That was something, that's weird. Oh, another thing too is because I had that lease car, and I think I just didn't want to use the money. Most likely I didn't want to use the money to fix the car, and since I was doing so poorly, I wanted to use the money that I had to survive instead of for a car. Anyway, I guess that was my reasoning. And also I had this band to take care of on Wednesdays. So anyway, he comes back in the room and he goes, you know what, you don't care about anything. You have no reaction to anything. And, he said something like that. And I went to him and I go, that's not true. It's not true that I don't have any reaction. It's just that I deal with things in a different way than you. I figure out what I can do about the problem. I analyze it in my mind. And I said, anyway, brother, I just call him brother, I have a car that I never picked up. So we can use that car. We can go and get that car and we can use it for the business. He never was, now talking about no reaction. He wasn't happy or anything. He just said, let's go get it. So anyway, we took our bike. He had a lot of bicycles in his, next to his patio. The patio was like not in front of the house, but on the side of the house, screened in patio. And we got like 2 bicycles together. He had a lot of them. And we had to get the bicycles because we kind of, like I said, it was kind of like a outskirts or a rural area, but it wasn't really. And we drove our bicycles to the subway station. Okay, and then from the subway station, we took the subway, and he didn't know how to do this because he always had cars, always had transportation of his own. So he's pretty much following me, but I didn't know that this was bugging him, the fact that he had to take, public transportation. I didn't know that it was getting to him. So anyway, then we took the train. I had to show him how to take the train. And we took the train to a certain place to where we had to get the bus. And here we are, we're going to pick up this car, okay? To pick up this car that I had left. A car that I had left in a repair shop, okay? So anyway, we get to the point where we had to take the bus, and I told him to wait for a second. I left for a little while. And then I came back, he was, wow, he was almost like in tears. And we got on the bus, and we got on the back of the bus, and he started crying. And he said, you left me there alone. I never took public transportation before. And I was like amazed, but I helped him out. I said, brother, it's all right. Everything is, always take the bus. You don't have to worry. It's not that bad, but I know everything was like getting to him, and he couldn't he had to process all these things that were happening to him. So anyway, we get to the place where I get the car, and they still have the car, and I think it came up to like $53. And he turns to me, he says, well, do you have the money? I said, I'm giving you the car. I'm not going to pay for it. It's for the business, and I'm giving you the car for your business, so I'm not going to pay. So anyway, he ended up paying, and he's a very good mechanic, both of my brothers. So he was fixing up the car and how can I say, assimilating what was wrong with the car. Just how the whole car worked. He would just, brainstorm it. It was something else. So anyway, we had the car, and we were running the car. We got it to his house. It was running. And I think it was only a solenoid or something like that. It was no big problem. Anyway, it's fixed. And we get to his house and we get it ready for work, to start working. And we started working. And we were working on a deck, and they had wood. We put it in the back of the truck, this wood. We do everything in that car, So anyway, so his business continued to flourish, and I was helping him. He wasn't paying me, but I was living with him for free as time goes on. And so we still have this truck, we still have this car, and then he introduced me to, or we got in contact with this subcontractor who had a lot of jobs. A very nice person. He was from Iran, I think, Iranian, I'm almost sure. And he had a business, and he loved America. And he just said it was a great country because, they helped him out so much. And he was helping us out because he was giving us jobs. I mean, one job he gave me, I made like $1,000 off of doing this whole house. I did the whole house by myself, pointing it up. And I had to write up a whole sheet of everything that I did. And he gave me the $1,000, and I used it for my band. That's what was keeping me going. I mean, so anyway, we worked, so the business continued to prosper. Now, some of the things that helped me, I'm cutting it chronological and making these points that happened to me while I was at his house now. My brother came to visit me. Those are things that helped me. He just came to visit me. My brother that I mentioned in my first YouTube, about the one who was disfellowshipped a long time ago, he came to visit me. He lives in another state, and that was encouraging. And another thing that happened was my Spanish brother. My Spanish brother came to visit me. That's another thing that helped, okay? They didn't give me money or anything, but just having someone visit you. But he visited me, first he gave me a call. Now he lives in California, and he gave me this call, and I told him about my music, and I was having problems with some of the vocals or something, and I didn't understand something. And he told me, you have to know everything. You have to know how to go up, you have to go down, which I thought was impossible to know. Now I understand that it is possible to know all the intricate parts of how music works in the mind. And thanks to him, I did, because he said, you have to do that, And I was in a band, and I had demos and stuff. And then he told me, he goes, brother, I had this dream. And it was very important to him. It's almost like he gave me the dream. And he was like I was with the dreams. He goes, I was on the beach all by myself. I mean, that's all he said, but it was like so personal, and so it meant something to him. And I pictured it. And he said it, I was on the beach all by myself. And he said it a third time. I was on the beach all by myself. It kind of like took the dream, and it made some significance for me also, since he told me that. But he says, I'm going to come and visit you, and he's in California. I'm coming to visit you, okay? So he actually comes and he visits me, and my brother meets him. But he's with his girlfriend and his new baby. The girlfriend and her baby, his baby, okay? And he takes me, and he goes, well, let's go out. I was working really hard that day, but it was in the morning. And he said, let's go to the hotel room, to where we're staying. So we go to the hotel, and they have like a bed on one side, and then they have like a living. It's not like a regular setup for a suite, but it's kind of like a small suite. And on the other side of the room, they have like a living area with a couch. And I'm so tired, I don't know why, I can't really remember now. But I laid down on the couch, and I went to sleep. And him and his girlfriend, and their baby was in the bed, okay? And I was happy for both of them. We all got along very well. And then he woke me up at around 7 o'clock. And I didn't know, but it was Valentine's Day. So anyway, he said, let's go to dinner. And he took me to dinner to another hotel. And it was like on the rooftop or something like that, in a hotel. And it was beautiful. And I felt kind of funny, but I didn't know about the holidays the holidays when you're a Jehovah's Witness, you're like inside a box looking out. So you don't really feel everybody's feelings as far as a holiday is concerned. So anyway, we're sitting at the table, and there's a rose on the table, and my brother, my Spanish brother's on the other side, and he doesn't even care. I mean, it was like everybody's thinking that we're lovers, and he doesn't care. So I didn't care. And the waiter came up, everybody treated us very nice. And at the end of the meal, he took the rose. And I remember us in the lobby, in the elevator going down, and he had the rose, and I thought it was so nice. And how everybody thought it was, we were together. So anyway, I don't know how I got back home, but I'm almost sure he gave that rose to his girlfriend. I'm almost sure. He was telling me that. And anyway, I go back home. I think he takes me home or something like that. But that was very powerful. And he showed me how much he loved me and cared for me. And that gave me a lot of energy, So then after that, so that happened, and then now going back chronologically, now we're, my brother's doing very well. He gets a truck. I don't know what he does with the car, now that I think of it. Maybe he traded it in or whatever. But he gets a truck, and he has a truck. He's doing very good in his business. And so I start working in a restaurant that I mentioned before. I always worked in this restaurant that always, employed me anytime I needed a job. And so anyway, I'm working there. And so let me clear and make sure there's nothing else I want to tell you about my brother's house, because something's getting ready to happen. And I'm gonna, oh yeah, before I get to the end of my brother's house, I had a band, I told you. It was called Wall Street, and on Wednesdays I would go, oh yes, okay, I have to tell you this. Okay, and on Wednesdays I would go to my band, I would go to Philadelphia, I would go to the train station, and I would take the train to Philadelphia, and somebody would pick me up, one of the band members, and they would take me to where we were rehearsing. We were rehearsing all this music, okay? And I would pay pretty much everything. It wasn't that expensive, but things add up, because I had to pay for the transportation to get there, which was not really that much, but it adds up. So anyway, and then we got pictures done, things like that. Everything adds up. But it was pretty good. But it was just in the stages, like in the beginning stages. And the problem was that nobody else in the band really wanted to contribute anything other than beer in their marijuana cigarettes that they always. They were always like drinking marijuana and smoking, smoking marijuana and drinking beer. So the band really. I was the only one that was like in the band that was actually doing something, which kind of made things not good. But I had to go there on Wednesdays, and that helped me out because I just had to do things like that. Everybody has something that they have to do that keeps them going in their mind, okay? And that's what kept me going with all these things that were happening. So now, there's 1 week that I can't make the band. The money's not coming, because now I'm working in a restaurant. Something happens, okay? I'm not making money, or I'm making money, but it's not enough. And I need this money for Wednesday. And I don't know what to do, and it's like the most important thing in my life to do this. And I decided to call my girlfriend, the one, love at first sight girlfriend, like I said in my last video. I called her. That's how desperado I was to keep doing this thing with this band. I call her. I don't know what her response is going to be. This is after, we never broke up really, we separated or whatever. And my getting married to my ex-wife. And the last time I had saw her, I had seen her, was me and my ex-wife were getting married, and we were at the assembly, and we were sitting at these long tables. Everybody knows who goes through the assembly. They have these, like, at the assembly hall, they have like these tables, these lunch tables. And my friends who didn't want me to marry my ex-wife, they sat my love at first sight girlfriend out to where I could see her on the side. And that's the last time I saw her, and I remember I couldn't look at her. And so we went through all of that. Anyway, I'm going back to when I'm at my brother's house, and I need this $400 to do this band on Wednesday. And I call her and I tell her my problem. I don't know if I mentioned band or whatever. I just told her I needed $400. And she says yes. She said yes. That means that, and I called her, so that means that we still had a connection. We still loved each other through all those things that happened. She said yes, no problem. And I remember picking up the money. I remember going to where she told me she lived, walking down the street, going to her apartment, and when I knocked on the door, I kind of saw her face and her arm giving me the envelope of the $400, and I took the $400, and I just remembered that. I never forgot that. Never forgot. So anyway, she still loved, I'm almost sure she still loves me, and I still love her very much. So it's funny how you don't think about somebody, or you block this person out of your life, but you still love them. And that's something that I'm glad I got from this YouTube myself, is how much I'm almost sure we both still love each other. Maybe one day I'll go see her, hopefully. And so anyway, that ends. So anyway, this has ended the stay at my brother's house, because one time, I'm almost sure I finished everything for the most important things that happened at my brother's house. And I'm in the bed early in the morning, and he comes in the room like he does. He tells the information and he leaves. He opens the door and he says, "You have to leave." And he closes the door. And then I just get my things, and I leave his apartment, and I leave his house. And I'm walking there. I know I don't have any place to go, but I had to go to work. I was working at that restaurant I was telling you. So I'm then thinking about what I'm gonna do. So I don't know. I know I work, and I know I had to call I decided to call two people. I decided to call my brother and my Spanish brother, who lives in California, and my brother who lives in another state, who lives in Atlanta, Georgia, I guess I can say that. And so I call my Spanish brother, and I tell him my problem, that I need to go to California. And he's okay with it, but he leaves me one doubt. So then I call my brother, and I tell him about the problem. And he has no doubts. I'm sorry. Excuse me, I'm sorry. So anyway, this is live, so I'm sorry. I don't like to blink out things and put things back. It's just real life, because this is about my real life. So that's why I'm keeping everything in. Excuse me very much. So anyway, I call my brother, and he doesn't have any doubts. And he goes, "I'm gonna look up the ticket, and you can pay me the ticket when you get here and get a job." So anyway, I go to work, and then he calls me at work, almost like I gave him the telephone number. And he says, "You have two choices. You can go right now, but the ticket is gonna be like 100 and something more, or else you can wait 2 weeks and it'll be really cheaper." I made a split decision. I had to take the 2 weeks, because, it's just the way things are. You have to save when you can, even though I was in dire need. So I picked the 2 weeks, and he got the ticket, and I had to wait for 2 weeks on the street or wherever I was gonna be. But I was working, thank God. Um, and sometimes you don't wanna ask people at work because they're being with them. I mean, certain people, you don't know how in the world they live. You know what I mean? I had beautiful friends at work, but you don't want to know certain things. So anyway, that was the best thing for me to do was to wait two weeks. So anyway, while I was waiting the 2 weeks, I don't think I waited too long, but I met this man, okay, and we formed a relationship, an intimate relationship. It wasn't based on sex; it was based on intimacy. There's a big difference, and there's there's certain kind of people that just it's intimacy. I mean, you do things, but it's based on like a trust and intimacy and caring and things like that. Anyway, it was, I couldn't believe it, but it was a very nice relationship. And I didn't have a place to stay, but what we would do is we would go to he would pay for hotel rooms. He had a girlfriend, and I met her. This is later on because we kept the relationship even though I went to see with my brother in Georgia. And one time I went with him and his girlfriend to a Michael Jackson concert. But that was him, but anyway, getting back. So waiting the 2 weeks, I don't think I stayed 1 week on the street because every day we would go to a hotel room. Not very expensive, but nice. He was a very nice person. He had a very good job, of course. And one time we went to the beach, very nice beach, and we got a hotel room. And at this point, I think it was maybe like 4 more days or 5 more days before I had to go to the airport to get my ticket. And we were on the balcony, and then I had to tell him that I had a ticket and I have to go to see my brother, and I told him my problem, that I had to go. And the only thing I didn't know, I was telling him, I didn't know that it would continually grow, this relationship, into a deep relationship. And that's why I didn't say anything, but now I know I have to say something. And the most thing that he was worried about is why I didn't say anything in the beginning. But that's what I decided. Anyway, I mean, he didn't get mad or anything, but it was sad, And then I remember the day that I was dropped off to the airport, and I was on the airplane, and we were getting ready to take off, and it was a feeling that I cannot express, but it was a very deep feeling, almost like I said, I didn't want to go so bad because of the way everything had happened, and how much he had helped me out. And then something happened. They got on the loudspeaker and said, the train has a flat tire. The plane, it was an airplane, because I had a flight. I'm sorry, I should have told you that. The plane had a flat tire, and we have to stay 1 more day. We won't be able to take off until the next day. And I was so happy, and I got off the plane, and I called him, and I told him we have 1 more day, and it made it better, 100% better. Thank God. Thanks to God, it definitely was God. So anyway, then after that, like I said, I went to Georgia, and I went with my brother, and we were still keeping contact. He sent me things for my birthday. I felt kind of funny because, like I said, I wouldn't explain everything like I did now on YouTube, I'm doing it now because it's something that God has required of me, and I don't know why, but that's the only reason why I would do this. So that's it. And like I said, one time he actually came to visit me in Georgia, flew to Georgia to visit me. And like I said, I flew back to, when I flew back to where I lived, I saw him, and he took me to his home one time, and he told me, he goes, I can take care of everything. I can take care, if you can get an apartment here or whatever. And it was just something with the music, and I have my life. I just decided not to. I mean, it wasn't that I just wanted things. I just wanted to do things. I mean, I had a life, which thank God I had a life. But anyway, that's the way that things went. But I know he had a girlfriend, and I know I was an important part of his life. I did see him other times, but like I said, we went to him. He bought tickets to a Michael Jackson concert, and his girlfriend was there also. And I don't like Michael Jackson. I liked him, but not so much, And that was really nice. It was very intimate, very trusting relationship. I just mentioned that because it was important, and it deserves to be recognized. I mean, some things we don't recognize in our life because we're afraid that people might know. But I think that time should stop. I think we should express things that mean something to us, that help other people. And just because it's not popular, it's just not popular. Maybe it should be. But anyway, so that's it. What else can I say about the whole situation? Also, anyway, I did when I was with my brother. I got with my brother and lived in his house. And I remember his wife telling me, she goes, "I'll take you to go get a job in the morning. You got to cut your hair." I got my hair cut. Well, they suggested I cut my hair. I got my hair cut really short. And I just knew I was going to get a job. And I remember her dropping me off in the city, and I got a job the first day. I walked in this place, and I talked so much. And when I went, I said, "Well, I want to go see." It was in a hotel, and I said, "Well, let me go see the restaurant," And I went up to see the restaurant. And when I went up to see the restaurant, they said, "You got a call. Were you in the personnel?" I go, "Yes." They go, "Well, you got a call." And I call, and they called me, and they go, you got the job. Can you be here tomorrow?" And I said, "Yes." And so I had a job, and a full-time job. I got insurance, and I put my ex-wife on the insurance while she was gone. I paid for her insurance, my insurance, and I got an apartment. But I don't know how far this YouTube is going to go. But I did have everything when she came back, and she rejected it because she wanted to go back to where we used to live. So I did do everything, and I did learn from the experience about not having things. So when she came back, I did have everything that I didn't have for her the last time, and the insurance was the most important thing. So all of that in getting out, I'm ending. So I got out of being surrounded by anybody who has, who has how can I say, who are inside the Jehovah organization that affects me. All those people, which the last one was my disfellowship brother who wanted to get back in. So I wasn't surrounded by anyone at that point when I moved with my brother, any part of the Jehovah Witness organization. And at that point, you have to build your life. So once you're out, you have to build your life, learn a lot of things. There's a lot of empty spaces that I had in my mind and in my heart that had to be filled. And you know who's going to help you? God will help you. And like I said, those things that happened to me in my brother's house, the one that wanted to go back to Jehovah Witness, did not happen to me in the world, never. Because in the world, you figure out where you want to go. It's like the internet. You go on places that you want to go on to. Nobody tells you to go. Sometimes you're in the wrong place, but then you learn not to be in that place and go in the place. So in the world, you have to become yourself and figure out what you want and be careful where you can be careful and be a part of God, and God will help you. Thank you very much.